All right, let's talk about mergers and acquisitions. M&A. We're talking about some of the biggest, most high-stakes moves a company can ever make. But what if I told you there's a tool, maybe even a secret weapon that could totally shift the odds of success in your favor? That's what we're going to dig into today.
So, M&A deals, they're kind of built on this fascinating paradox, right? On one hand, you've got this incredible promise for growth, for creating massive value. But on the other hand, wow, they are notoriously difficult to get right. You've probably heard the thinking behind it. It's this core belief that 1 + 1 makes 3. It's this idea that when you smash two companies together, you create something way more valuable than just the sum of their parts. That's the magic word, right? Synergy.
And look, it's a beautiful idea in theory. But if it were really that simple, we wouldn't even be here talking about this. The hard data, well, it points to a much, much tougher reality. And that brings us to the big question.
Get ready for this number, because it is staggering. Some studies, like one by Sarah Ware that our source material mentions, put the failure rate as high as 70%. 70! Think about that. For every 10 deals that happen, seven of them fail to deliver on their promise. That's not just a risk, that's a massive gamble, with billions of dollars on the line.
Okay, so you're probably thinking, with odds like that, why on earth would anyone do it? And the answer is simple, because the potential payoff is just huge. I mean, look at the goals here. You're trying to create that 1 + 1 = 3 synergy. You're trying to bust into totally new markets, grab a bigger piece of the pie, get more efficient, or even just snag a competitor's secret sauce, their know-how. The temptation it's powerful.
Okay, so we know they fail a lot. But why? Where does it all go wrong? Well, the research points to this huge, multi-billion-dollar blind spot in how these deals are actually put together. Let's dig into the data.
So check this out. There was this survey of really experienced Italian managers, and it's fascinating. They asked them, hey, during due diligence, that super critical investigation phase before a deal is final, what do you focus on? And the answers are pretty much what you'd expect, right? Most of them say strategic planning, financial aspects. It's all about the spreadsheets, the numbers, the big picture strategy. But hold on, because that's only half the story.
And here is the twist. The researchers then asked the exact same managers, okay, what are the areas you guys tend to overlook the most? And the story just completely flips on its head. A whopping 64% say organizational culture, another 41% point to HR and people issues. It's all the soft stuff, the human element. They're basically admitting, yeah, we know we're not paying enough attention to this.
And that, right there, gets to the absolute heart of the problem. You see, making an M&A deal work isn't just about making the numbers line up on a spreadsheet. The real battlefield, the place where most of these deals live or die, is in the messy, complicated, and frankly, often ignored work of bringing people and cultures together. It's a massive, glaring blind spot.
So, this is where our potential secret weapon comes into the picture. Let's talk about a tool that was practically designed to fight this exact kind of tunnel vision. It's called the Balanced Scorecard. So, what exactly is the Balanced Scorecard, or BSC for short? Well, it was developed by these two guys, Kaplan and Norton, and at its core, it's a framework. It's a way to take a company's big, fuzzy vision and strategy and translate it into something you can actually measure. But here's the key. It forces you to look at the business from a bunch of different angles, not just the money.
And that right there, that's its superpower. The entire point of the BSC is to force managers to get their heads out of a purely financial view of success. It makes you consider all the other things that are absolutely critical, like are our customers happy? Are our internal processes working? And are we actually learning and getting better as an organization?
Now, what's really cool is that the creators of the scorecard always said it should be a template, not a straitjacket. In other words, you can adapt it. So the question becomes, how can we take this powerful general business tool and tweak it for the super specific, high-stakes game of mergers and acquisitions?
Well, a researcher named Grotenhaus came up with this really brilliant M&A-specific version. Just look at the comparison here. You can see the shift in focus, right? The standard financial perspective becomes finance and synergy, which forces you to actually ask, is that 1 + 1 = 3 thing really going to happen? And my favorite one? Internal business processes becomes integration process. That tackles the human element, that big blind spot we talked about, head on. It's a simple change, but man, is it powerful.
Okay, so this all sounds great on paper, right? But what about in the real world? What are the people on the front lines, the managers who are actually in the trenches making these deals happen? What do they think about it? Well, that survey from our source paper gives us some really telling insights.
First question, can you even use the BSC for M&A analysis in the first place? And the answer from these managers was, well, it was a landslide. A massive 93% said yes, they generally agree. So there's this huge consensus that the framework is definitely flexible enough for the job.
All right, so it's possible, but is it actually useful? Let's get more specific. For strategic planning, remember that was something they do focus on, a solid 87% see the BSC as a really valuable tool to have. They get that it can help define and align the goals right from the get-go.
And now for the big one. What about integration planning? You know, the area that they themselves admitted was the most overlooked. Here, an even stronger 93% agree that the BSC is a valuable support. I mean, this is huge. The tool directly targets their biggest admitted weakness, their biggest blind spot.
So yeah, the verdict from the people who actually do this for a living is pretty clear. The experienced managers, the ones with the scars to prove it, they see real practical potential in using the balanced scorecard to navigate the M&A minefield more effectively.
So all of this brings us back to that final multi-billion-dollar question. Is a simple scorecard really the secret key to unlocking all that value in M&A? And the answer is probably not. It's not a magic bullet, you know? It's not going to magically fix a bad deal. But here's what it is, and what this research so powerfully suggests. It's a framework. Think of it like a corrective lens. It forces everyone involved to lift their heads up from the spreadsheets for a minute and look at the whole picture. The strategy, the customers, the processes, and maybe most importantly of all, the people.
And you know, that might just be the most important takeaway here. In this high-stakes world of M&A, maybe, just maybe, the path to success isn't only about getting the numbers right. Maybe it's about finally giving the proper time and attention to all those things that are so hard to measure, like culture and teamwork and integration. Because at the end of the day, those are often the things that matter the most.